Welcome, listeners, to the Lust for Life podcast. It's so great to have you. I love making these every week and reflecting on my weeks and what I've learned. And I feel like this podcast has kind of evolved into like my weekly reflection on life and the different lessons I've learned, but I'm totally okay with that. I love that. It's kind of my own kind of way of journaling and sharing my thoughts with others and connecting with others. So I really like that aspect of podcasting. But this week, is the final week without Jake this summer because Jake's been in Nashville and he's coming back this weekend. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I've shared with you all how it's been a little challenging emotionally and physically because I haven't had a car. So I've had to take public transportation, different places, and that was not a skill I had before. But I feel like I've gotten better at it. So that's good. But it's been emotionally, like, it's hard to explain. It's like I'm already an anxious person. And so to have, Jake gone, it's like I'm almost like mourning his loss, but he's not gone. And I'm trying to tell myself that, but I keep catching myself just like deeply missing like his presence. And like it's almost like seriously like he's gone. And I'm like, no, he's just in Nashville. But so that has been a little challenging to kind of work through those emotions, and it's okay to, be sad, but don't obviously dwell on it for too long and, keep moving forward. We're going to see Jake at the end of the summer and it's been good. But that has been the most challenging part is just emotionally, I think, working through those feelings. It's kind of hard to explain it. Yeah, like I said, it's like I almost feel like he, has died or like, that sounds dramatic, but that's how I feel. Like I just am sad that he's gone, but then I have to remind myself he's coming back. So, but yeah, it's been a good summer. Lots has happened, lots of good and lots of crazy. And I feel like on Saturday, I kind of had a lot of emotions kind of come together to make one little eruption. It's not convenient not having a car and not convenient not having your spouse home and kind of managing things here at home. So I feel like I've been constantly telling myself it's okay. We got this. We're going to work through it. And then I feel like kind of emotions got the best of me on Saturday, which sometimes you just have to give them that time and space. But I'll kind of share a little context. My mountain bike is on my indoor bike trainer. And it's a different size than my road bike. And because it was raining all weekend, I needed to switch. I wanted to switch my mountain bike off the trainer and put my road bike on the trainer, which is a smaller bike. But I wanted to do this for comfort because my mountain bike is not as comfortable on the longer rides. And I wanted to do a longer ride, so I wanted to switch my road bike onto my trainer. Hope that made sense. But in order to switch the bikes, I didn't realize you had to have a certain part. And so I took, essentially to get it on this trainer, you have to take the rear wheel off of both bikes and you just kind of hook the back of your bike onto the trainer and that acts as your rear wheel. So I am terrible at taking rear wheels off and putting them back on. But anyway, I faced my fear and I got my mountain bike off the trainer and then I got my road bike, took off the rear wheel, and I actually got it onto the trainer, but it just wasn't fitting right. And I was like, why is this not fitting? And like, I was like honestly fearing this moment, like trying to put this on the trainer. Like I'm just so bad at it. It's just, I don't know why it's hard for me, but it is. But I got it on the trainer and I was like, okay, I got it. But I'm like, something is weird about this. Like, it's just not fitting. And that's when I realized I was missing that part. And I went through all of the drawers because we have it. I just couldn't remember where we put it. I went through all of our drawers like 3 times. I was like, where is it? And then I realized that it's in Nashville with Jake. And I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, no, I was like totally relying on this bike ride. I had all my workouts for the week for Ironman training. Like this bike ride is crucial. Like I need this bike ride. And anyway, so I was just looking at my bikes, two bikes just with their rear wheels off in my living room. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know what to do right now. Like, anyway. And then side note, my trainer was being so funny with my mountain bike on the trainer. It was telling me my miles per hour was way slower than it really was. So it was adding a ton of resistance, if that makes sense. So I was already kind of frustrated that like my calibration on my trainer was telling me my watts and miles per hour is wrong. So just keep that in mind. That has been wrong for the last, since I got it a few months ago, and it's always kind of bothered me. So here I am I feel like my trainer's broken anyway because the cadence and watts are all off and the calibration's off. And then I have two bikes in my living room, and I don't know how to I do know how to. It's just hard to put the rear wheels on. And then I was like, you know what? I have absolutely had it. I'm like, I kind of had a harder week emotionally. Like, I worked through some things, but I'm definitely still holding some things in. I'm like, I'm going to bed. Like, straight up in my bike shorts, bike shirt, I just crawled right back into bed. And I was like, I'm just really not feeling great. And I called Jake, and I told him I just was emotionally feeling really dysregulated, and I was feeling frustrated that I was getting my emotions dysregulated, and I didn't really know how to navigate through them because they were feeling so strong, and it's just been really hard without Jake. And so I was getting frustrated that I feel like I was digressing in my emotional intelligence, like, progress. So there was just so many things that I just like felt like I was just spiraling. And then it came up that like, and so Jake was like, you should just come visit me in Nashville. Like you need to come see me. We just come see me, even though I'm coming home this weekend, just come see me on Wednesday and we can just hang out so we don't have to be apart any longer than we have to. And I didn't want to tell Jake that I had already booked tickets for flights to go see him, for Lucy and I to go see him. And he kept saying, well, you just need to come see me. You just need to come see me. I'm like, and then I just gave in and I was like, Jake, I already have tickets booked to come and see you. And he was like, oh, what day? And I was like, I'm flying in Thursday night. And Jake was like, and the reason I'm flying in is to see Jake's final presentation. And then Jake, when he heard I was flying in Thursday night, was like, oh, my presentation is at that exact same time. And so somehow we miscommunicated when the final presentation was. And I ended up booking my flight the same time as his final presentation. And in that moment, I was like hysterically crying. Because I was like, I genuinely don't think anything else could go wrong. Like, I really don't think anything else could go wrong right now. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, are we kidding me? And I was like, I didn't think Delta would allow me to switch my flight. And in that moment, I was like, wow, I feel like everything is just literally spiraling, and I can see it tangibly spiraling. And anyway, so I just was like, I'm just going to take a nap. So I took a nap. It always helps to just calm down my nervous system. And when I woke up, I was like, okay, like, I'm going to change my flight. I think I can do it. Delta's weird with their plans, but I ended up being able to change my flight for a fee, which was amazing. And then I was feeling good about that, and I just kind of walked out into my family room and saw these two bikes laying on the ground without their tires, and I was like, okay, let's just do one bike at a time. So I put my mountain bike back on the trainer, and it came on really great, and it worked fine. And then I put the wheel back on my road bike and put it back in my room. And so it actually went really smoothly. And I was like, okay, things are going well. And when I hopped on my mountain bike, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a workout and see how far I get. This bike is just really, it's uncomfortable to the point it hurts if you're on it for too long. And I was like, let's just see how far I get in this workout. So I start going, and I'm like, why is my miles per hour like way higher than it was before. And like, I don't know if you remember, but when I was describing it, I felt like the calibration was off with my trainer. And then now all of a sudden it's like way high. And I was like, what the heck? Like, this is like what it should be. Like the calibration seemed to just like click right back in. And so I was like, it like actually made me so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, like it's actually giving me accurate readings right now. Like, I don't know, it should not have made me that happy, but it did. I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if just taking off the bike, putting it back on, like something was screwed on too tight or something was messing up the resistance, and then just taking it off and putting it back on just totally fixed it. And I was like, you're kidding. Like, that's awesome. And I was like, wow, like what a difference from this morning. And then I was thinking too, I'm like, wow, what a blessing it was that I kind of had to blow up on my emotions to get to the point where I needed to call Jake and just kind of like share what I was feeling with him. Because when I did that, he kind of allowed me to share my surprise that I was going to come visit him in Nashville. And by doing that, we discovered my flight was the exact same time as his presentation. And I know myself, if I would have shown up and like surprised him, he would not have been at the house. And then I would have found out he was actually presenting the same time my flight was landing. I would have been so sad. And so there were just like, it really was like, as much as the emotions were so great and so overwhelming, like I genuinely was like, wow, like God is good. As terrible as I felt with like being, angry and frustrated with the different situations, that all had to happen for me to find out that my flight was booked at the wrong time. And I wouldn't have been able to see Jake's presentation. And now my bike trainer works. Like, that means the world to me. And now I get to go see Jake's final presentation. That means the world to me. And so I was like, wow, that like worked out perfectly. But in the moment, I was so focused on everything going wrong. Like, my emotions were getting the best of me. And I just kind of blew up emotionally. And I mean, I'm just really grateful that everything worked out the way it did, because if I didn't end up calling Jake kind of distraught with my emotions, I, wouldn't have had those blessings. So I literally was like, wow, God is so good. Like, I did not see that. Like, I seriously was just looking through a microscope when I could have just been looking at the whole picture. And yeah, so that was very humbling and just like really made me like, thank God and for his bigger plan. And that was just something little. Like, that's just something little in my life. Imagine what the bigger like chess pieces contain. Imagine what, is moving around in my life right now that I don't even realize, but will change my entire future later on. So it's just interesting to think of things like that. And I was just totally humbled on Saturday when all that happened. And I ended up getting, an incredible workout in and for my Ironman training, and everything worked out so well. And yeah, that's just a big lesson that I learned this week is, I don't know, just be able to look at things from a broader perspective, or having the faith that things look different in the bigger picture, or things are happening for a reason and things are working for you, like lucky girl syndrome or things like that. And it's so much easier said than done. And it's really, it's hard to work through that. And as I reflect on my emotional blow up on Saturday, it's hard to it's a hard balance, because I want to allow those emotions in my life and I want to be able to work through them. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes I let them work too much through me. So it's something I'm still learning, is like allowing the emotions to come, me feel them, and then just kind of like having the grace to let them go. I feel like I have this, tendency to grab my emotions and just like rile them up and keep them in me. And I just need to be able to like grab them, examine them, and let them go. And maybe that's through meditation a little bit more. But that's something that I've noticed that has come up lately is I'm just really not great at processing my emotions when I need to. I feel like the reason I kind of blew up on Saturday was I kind of just had like a coop up of emotions that I hadn't worked through. But so I think I'm going to try, just really taking time to reflect and meditate, things like that. So that was my week and very humbling. I'm just so blessed. We're going to be able to see Jake in Nashville, even with this crazy IT outage stuff. Lucy and I will be able to see Jake, which is a blessing. And we ended up having to I ended up going to the airport myself today. Our flight's not till, now Wednesday, but it was Thursday, to sort things out for a few hours. And I didn't get anywhere, so I ended up canceling my flight with Delta and booking with Southwest. And anyway, so that was emotional to work through. I was like, this is really frustrating, but I feel like I did pretty good today working through that, because there was definitely a lot of high emotions at the airport. Lots of people, stranded for 3 days, not having flights, which I feel so terrible about. But regardless, Lucy and I are going to be able to see Jake. We're going to see his final presentation, and we're just going to have a ball in Nashville together. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode this week. I will continue to reflect on my lessons each week and share them with you all. And I guess I'll see you next week.